For 4 years, the Saudi Public Investment Fund burned through cash like it was water. 50 billion, 60 billion. Month after month, they threw money at golf, trying to buy the game. They poached the biggest names: Rahm, DeChambeau, Mickelson, Smith. They promised them the world and paid them like kings. But here we are in 2026, and the Saudi checks just stopped. PIF officially pulled the plug. $2 billion are gone, canceled, vanished. The league they built, LIV Golf, is now running on fumes. And more importantly, the 54 players who left the PGA Tour for that Saudi gold, they are now standing in the middle of nowhere with nothing but empty contracts in their hands. Stranded. That is not a dramatic word. That is the reality. Here is the dread you need to feel. These players made a choice. They bet their careers on Saudi oil money. But oil money has a habit of drying up when geopolitics shifts. And shift it did. Now the question isn't, will LIV survive? The real question is, where do these 54 players go now? Can they come back to the PGA Tour? Will the PGA Tour even let them back? Or are they going to be left out in the cold, forced to play in second-rate events for scraps? We are going to break this all down. The money, the war, the rules, the chaos. But before we get into the details, here is my take. These players made a gamble, and right now, it looks like they lost. Big time. Do you agree with that? Or do you think the PGA Tour should show them mercy and let them come back? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to know exactly how this bombshell changes the future of professional golf, hit that subscribe button, because this story is just getting started. And the first thing we need to do is look at who we are actually talking about. Because when I say 54 stars, that number feels cold. It is just a number. But the faces behind those numbers, that is where the real story lives. Let's start with the biggest catch of all, Jon Rahm, the Spaniard, the Masters champion, the guy who was supposed to be the future face of the PGA Tour. Then Saudi money came calling, and they offered him something north of $300 million. $300 million. He signed, he jumped, and for a while he looked like the smartest man in golf. But did he really win? Or did he just trade one prison for another? Then there is Bryson DeChambeau, the mad scientist, the guy who bulked up, hit bombs, and won the US Open. He left the PGA Tour with a $200 million contract, and he did it loudly. He sued the tour, he burned bridges, he made enemies. And now, he is sitting in a limbo that might cost him everything he built. The question is not whether he got paid. The question is whether he will ever play a major again on his own terms. Phil Mickelson, the old legend, 50-plus years old, but still chasing relevance. He got $200 million to be the face of LIV's rebellion. But the rebellion is over. The money is drying up, and Phil is staring down the final years of his career with nowhere to go. He wanted to change the game. But what if the game just changes without him? Cameron Smith, the Aussie with the mullet, the one who won the Open Championship and then vanished into the Saudi system. He was young, he had a future, and now that future is hanging by a thread. Dustin Johnson, the former world #1, the guy who was so quiet, so steady, that nobody expected him to become a rebel. But he did, and now he is trapped in the same sinking ship as the rest. All of them. Every single one of these names signed contracts that were supposed to be their golden tickets. But here is the cold truth. Those contracts were tied to LIV Golf, not to the Saudi fund directly. If LIV collapses, if it files for bankruptcy or simply runs out of money, those contracts become worthless. The players can sue. They can fight, but you cannot squeeze blood from a stone. And LIV Golf right now is a stone with nothing left to give. So we have 54 of the best golfers on the planet. Some of them made hundreds of millions, some of them made tens of millions. But now they are standing on the edge of a cliff looking down at a void. They got paid, sure, but professional golfers do not just play for a paycheck. They play for legacy. They play for majors. They play for history. And right now, all of that is in jeopardy. The question is not whether they have money in the bank. The question is whether they have a future in the game. And that is a much scarier question than anyone wants to admit. Because the doors to the PGA Tour, those doors might be locked. And if they are locked, these 54 stars have nowhere to run. Now we have to ask the brutal question. Why did the Saudis actually pull the plug? Because this was not a sudden decision. This was a slow, painful realization that they were burning money on a dream that would never become reality. Think about the numbers. The PIF did not just lose $2 billion this year. They lost over $60 billion since 2021. $60 billion. That is not a business loss. That is a black hole. They were spending $100 million every single month just to keep LIV alive. That is the kind of money that makes even the richest sovereign fund in the world stop and think. And then the world changed. Iran, the war, the disruption in the Middle East. Rory McIlroy was actually the first to say it out loud. He said the conflict in the region made the Saudis rethink everything. And he was right. Because when oil shipments are threatened and regional stability crumbles, spending billions on a golf league starts to look very irresponsible. Suddenly, the domestic projects in Saudi Arabia became the priority. The new cities, the infrastructure, the tourism, all of that mattered more than paying Phil Mickelson to hit a wedge. Yasser Al-Rumayyan, the head of the PIF, already announced a new 5-year plan. And that plan was very clear. Cut international spending. Focus on home. LIV Golf was the biggest international spending project they had, and it was losing money faster than anything else they had ever done. So the math became simple. LIV was a toy. The Saudi economy is a necessity, and when the toys get too expensive, they get thrown away. But here is the part that makes this even crazier. Just a few months before they pulled the plug, the PIF injected another $266 million into LIV. They gave it one last shot. They tried to save it. And it still was not enough. Because the ratings never came. The sponsorship never came. The fans never truly embraced it. LIV was always the enemy, the rebel league, the Saudi circus, and no amount of money could change that perception. That decision to pull the plug would have been enough to destroy any normal business. But what happened next made everything before it look minor. Because the moment the Saudis stopped funding LIV, the legal nightmare began. Let me explain what actually happens when a league loses its only source of money. And this is where the situation gets terrifying for those 54 players. The players signed contracts with LIV Golf, not with PIF. LIV Golf is a separate company, a separate legal entity. So when PIF walked away, they did not technically break the contracts, they just stopped paying the bills. LIV Golf is now responsible for paying those players. But LIV Golf has no money. Zero. No income, no television rights, no gate revenue, nothing. So what happens when a company has billions in obligations but zero cash? Bankruptcy. Chapter 11. The same thing that happened to Toys R Us. The same thing that happens to any business that cannot pay its debts. And if LIV Golf goes bankrupt, all those contracts become unsecured claims. That means the players become creditors. They stand in line with everyone else who is owed money. The vendors, the lawyers, the staff, and in bankruptcy, the players get paid last. They could sue. They could try to go after PIF directly, but that is a fight that could take years, years of legal battles, years of uncertainty, years of watching their prime playing days disappear while they sit in courtrooms. And let us be honest, do you think a sovereign Saudi fund is scared of a lawsuit from a golfer? They have armies of lawyers. They have infinite resources. They can drag these cases out until the players just give up. And it does not stop at the superstars. Think about the trickle-down. The caddies, the coaches, the physios, the operations staff. Hundreds of people who depended on LIV for their livelihoods. They are the real victims here. The stars will survive. They already made millions. But the people behind the scenes? They are the ones truly stranded. No contract, no severance, no safety net. Just a letter saying the league is shutting down. Brooks Koepka saw this coming. That is why he ran back to the PGA Tour when he had the chance. He used the returning member program. He got back in. He is playing majors. He is safe. He is the exception, the smart one. And his return is the biggest insult to everyone who stayed behind. Now we have to look at the wall they are all facing, the PGA Tour. Because even if these players wanted to come back, the tour might not let them. And that is where the drama really starts. Brian Rolap, the CEO of the PGA Tour, gave an interview that sent shockwaves through the golf world. He said, "There were rules, and they were broken. With rules comes accountability." That was not a vague threat. That was a direct message to every LIV player listening. You broke the rules. You left. You sued us. And now you want to come back like nothing happened? Not so fast. The PGA Tour did create a path back. They called it the Returning Member Program. It allowed a few players to come back under very strict conditions. Brooks Koepka qualified because he won majors and kept his reputation clean. But here is the catch. That program is now closed. It expired. The tour is not renewing it. So for everyone else, the door is shut. And for Bryson DeChambeau, the door is not just shut. It is locked, bolted, and guarded. Because DeChambeau is one of the lead plaintiffs in the antitrust lawsuit against the PGA Tour. He sued them. He tried to destroy their business model, and now he wants to come back. The tour will not forget that. They will make him pay. They will demand fines. They will demand public apologies. They will humiliate him if they have to, and DeChambeau is too proud for that. So he is stuck. Jon Rahm is in a different boat. He did not sue the tour. He just left for the money. But his contract with LIV runs until 2027, and LIV cannot pay him. So technically, he is still under contract, but the money is not there. He is in legal purgatory. He can play. He can show up. But he is not getting paid. And that is the worst kind of trap. The PGA Tour could open a new path. They could show mercy. But why would they? They already won. They survived the Saudi invasion. They kept their players. They raised their purses. They adapted. And now the threat is gone. They have zero incentive to help the guys who stabbed them in the back. This is not about forgiveness. This is about sending a message. You betray the tour, and you pay the price. So where do these players go? The DP World Tour? Maybe. The Asian Tour? Possibly. But those tours do not have the prestige. They do not have the money. They do not have the majors. And without the majors, these players become irrelevant. They become cautionary tales. They become the guys who threw it all away for a check that bounced. The final verdict is harsh but honest. These 54 players made the biggest mistake of their lives. They trusted a government fund that had no loyalty to golf. They trusted a league that had no history, no fans, and no future. They traded their legacy for a payday, and now the payday is gone. But here is the irony. LIV Golf did change the game. The PGA Tour is richer now. The purses are bigger. The signature events are more exciting. The tour fought back and became stronger. So in a twisted way, these rebels actually helped the very system they tried to destroy. They made it better, and they made themselves obsolete in the process. The Saudis will move on. They have other projects. They have the World Cup. They have their cities. They have their oil. They will forget LIV ever existed. But the players will not forget. Every time they show up to a minor tournament in the middle of nowhere, they will remember what they had and what they lost. They will remember the day they chose money over history. So let me leave you with this. The Saudi experiment is over. The Rebel League is dead. The 54 stars are scattered, stranded, and mostly hopeless. The PGA Tour stands tall, victorious, and unforgiving. That is the story. That is the ending. But I want to know what you think. Did these players get what they deserved? Or should the PGA Tour welcome them back with open arms? Drop your take in the comments. I read every single one. And if you made it this far, you are exactly the kind of fan this channel is built for. Hit subscribe. We do not do fluff here, just the truth. Like it or not, because the world of golf is changing fast, and we are going to be right here to break it all down.